Yeah, this one took me a little while. I may have complained a lot about Yakuza 3 in my last video, especially the remaster, but at the time everything was new to me. The pool minigame, while annoying, still kept me going because I've never done that specific minigame before. There was no trophy for a lot of the completion points, but I wanted to see what happens when I did each part. Yakuza 4 is extremely similar to 3. Some of the completion metrics are copy-paste exactly the same. I don't mean, oh, Mahjong plays similarly and they're kind of the same thing to complete. No, I mean they're literally copy and paste the exact same goal. In 3 you had to get 50,000 points in one game of Mahjong, and in 4 that's the same challenge for completion. Because of this, I decided not to complete this game. I'll still be going into detail about what was changed for each minigame, but if it's exactly the same as in 3 and there's no trophy for it, not doing it again. Also, I hate it when I'm watching a video and the person will say, if you want to know about whatever, watch my other video. But I'm kinda gonna do that here. Like I said, when I played through 3, a lot of these minigames and combat were completely new to me, so I had a lot to say about them. But here I've already played them to completion, recorded footage for them, and talked about them already. So to keep myself from getting burnt out, if something's exactly the same as it was in 3, that's pretty much all I'm gonna say about it. Anyways, let's get into this. Overall, I like this story. I appreciate the feedback I got on my last video, hearing why people love 3, but I still stand by my statements. Lots of charm, but still my least favorite story. I think when it came time to write 3, they didn't really know what to do with Kiryu, and especially didn't know what to do with Sayama. Side note, I said Sayama was removed because the writers didn't know what to do with her, and someone corrected me on the actual reason she was removed. But 20 other people also corrected me and gave a different reason. So yeah, still not 100% on why she was removed. It seems like there's a lot of different theories. Anyways, during 3, most of Kiryu's loved ones are dead, and he has a happy ending with 2, so I feel like they felt boxed in when writing the story about Kiryu. 4 decided, how about we just add more characters and do whatever the fuck we want with them? So that's what they did, and I think it was a great idea. The game introduces Saejima and Akiyama, two of the best characters in the series. It also introduced Tanimura, but he got sent to the Shadow Realm with Sayama. So I'm a little more confident about what happened to Tanimura, but again, correct me if I'm wrong. The actor that played Tanimura was making candy and his friend took a picture of him pretending to snort sugar. The picture was leaked either by his friends or the media, and he was accused of doing drugs. Everyone cut ties with him, including RGG, the company that makes these games, and when everyone found out he wasn't actually doing drugs, he decided not to come back to the industry based on how he was treated. And honestly, I can't blame him. Because of this, Tanimura was never in any other Yakuza game, and for the remaster, they changed the character model to not associate with Tanimura's original voice actor. So yeah, that kinda sucks, but what actually happens in the story? Well, the game opens with Akiyama. Akiyama is a famous loan shark in Kamurocho. His business, Sky Finance, is in the same building as the bar Kiryu always hangs out at. The game actually does a really good job of describing Akiyama.
Akiyama Shun, 32歳。天下一通りでスカイファイナンスって店やってる金貸しだ。カムロ町の駆け込み寺って言われててな。他の店で融資を断られたようなやつにまで金を貸し付けてる。
闇金ってことっすか？
まあ本人は闇金じゃねえって言ってるが、やってることは同じようなもんだ。ただまあ違うとこがあるとしたら、他の金貸しと比べて融資の条件が変わってるってとこかな。
条件？審査が特殊とかそういうことっすか？
ああ、あのスカイファイナンスって店じゃ客に金を貸すかどうか判断するために融資前に必ず何かしらの条件を客に提示する。その条件ってのがボランティアだの老人介護だの、とにかく一風変わったもんらしい。
はあ、そんなことして何のメリットがあるんですかね。
さあな。それに一部の噂じゃ金利すら取ってねって話もあるくらいだ。
じゃあどうやって飯食ってんすか、あの秋山って人は。
まあそれは都市伝説みたいな話だろ。実際はちゃんと儲かる仕組みがあるんだろうな。一応さっきうちに来たみたいに金貸した客が飛ばないようちょくちょく見回りしてるみてえだしな。
謎だらけの金貸しっすね。
とにかく奴の考えてることはよくわからん。ただ一度秋山から金を借りた人間は二度と奴から金を借りることはねえそうだ。
どうして？
それもわからん。まあ何にしてもああいう不気味な奴には関わらん方が身のためだって ってことだ。
And yeah, Akiyama is one of my favorites. He's super cool and laid back. He's a lot more talkative and charismatic than Kiryu, and I think that allowed the writers to come up with new situations that they wouldn't be able to use with Kiryu. Akiyama was a banker that got fired for embezzling funds, but he was set up. He ended up homeless when trying to clear his name, and made millions after the money from the other Yakuza game fell from the sky off of Millennium Tower. That's a nice callback, and cool to see how the residents of Kamurocho were affected by the events of the other games. So in the first part of the game, we learn the Ueno Seiwa are moving in on Kamurocho. Katsuragi, on behalf of the Ueno Seiwa, want Majima or Arai dead as retribution for one of their lieutenants' deaths. Arai is a leader of Tanimura Enterprise, and is good friends with Akiyama. When Akiyama was homeless, Arai protected Akiyama from homeless hunters. Meanwhile, a woman from Akiyama's past, who doesn't recognize Akiyama, asks him for a 100 million yen loan. Akiyama agrees, but only if she can pass his test. For her test, he tags her with becoming the #1 hostess at his cabaret club, Elise. Akiyama finds out her real name is Yasuko, and she killed a Yakuza. Akiyama gives her the money assuming he'll never see her again, which pisses off his assistant, so she quits. Oh yeah, this is his assistant, Hana.
って感じじゃねえな。
また降りない人たちだな。すみませんけど帰ってもらえます？社長も外出してますし、それでも用があるって言うんなら私が相手に。
So Akiyama returns to his club, where Majima makes his first appearance and reveals he's looking for Yasuko, which ends Akiyama's section of the game. Next comes one of the most interesting backstories of Yakuza. Ever wonder how Majima lost his eye?
Well,
Majima.
baby.
Back in 85, Saejima and Majima are planning a murder. Saejima's sister is there, and it's Yasuko, so that's how she fits into the puzzle. Majima and Saejima are oath brothers and are planning on taking out a bunch of Ueno Seiwa along with their boss. In doing so, they're hoping to take out the Ueno Seiwa altogether, and climbing up the Tojo clan ladder. They get 6 revolvers together to take out 10 men at the most, so it'll be 2 versus 10. They're all set to go, but that night, Majima never shows. Saejima knows this is his only chance, so he decides to take them all out himself. What follows is, in my opinion, the most badass moment in the entire series, and cements Saejima as an absolute beast.
か。この人だけは守らなきゃならないんだ。
これも親父が天下取るため。上野さん、堪忍や。
助けて。
For future reference, we'll be referring to this scene as the ramen shop attack. And next, it cuts to Saejima being transferred to a jail in Okinawa 25 years later. He's still on death row. A familiar face talks Saejima into breaking out of prison. It's your boy, Hamazaki. He tells Saejima that not only are the Seiwa still around and bigger than ever, but Saejima's boss took the fall for his actions all those years ago. Up until now, Saejima accepted his fate, but now he's ready to break out to get to the bottom of things. And at this point, the game takes a harsh nosedive. 4 has some of my favorite moments in the entire series, but it also has the absolute dumbest moments of the series. Everything to this point is somewhat realistic, but it seems like at this point they just said fuck it. Saejima decides to break out of prison by getting another inmate to make him a grappling hook. How do you make a grappling hook in prison? Easy. You just get a chain and a pitchfork, which happens to be lying around the prison. So he breaks out of prison with the help of Hamazaki, but of course Hamazaki gets shot before he can escape. Saejima gets hurt during the escape and washes ashore the next morning, and wouldn't you know it, he happens to wash ashore on Kiryu's beach. Kiryu owns an orphanage, and the orphanage is located on a beach, and that just so happens to be where Saejima washes up. Isn't that convenient? And if that's not bad enough, next comes the worst scene in any Yakuza game.
Oji-san?
It's not looking good, dude. You heard about this?
It's not looking good.
Dude, it's looking pretty rough.
It's getting pretty bad out there.
Hey, you didn't hear it from me, but it's in pretty rough shape out there. Dude. You ever feel like everything's just fucked?
She is 13. What's especially bad about this is that Kiryu watches this happen and he doesn't help. He just waits to see what's going to happen. The point of the scene is that Saejima has been in jail for so long, he can't control himself around women, which is fucking disgusting. Saejima has the most emotional scenes, but this one moment makes me not want to root for him. Was there not any other way to show he was in jail for a long time than have him consider assaulting a 13-year-old?
That's assault, brother.
Should have taken a page out of Old Boy's book. And I already know people are going to be defending this, saying, oh, he was in jail for so long and he never saw... I don't give a fuck. I do not give a fuck. To even consider doing that, you're a despicable human being. And like I said, I really like Saejima, so I'm going to pretend that this scene never happened. Honestly, it ruins Saejima's entire character that he would even consider doing this. Oh, but he stopped himself. He didn't actually do anything. Oh, okay. That makes it all better then. Hamazaki told Saejima to seek out Kiryu and ask him for help. Saejima asks Kiryu for help, but doesn't mention Hamazaki at all. So some dude just broke out of prison, washes ashore on Kiryu's beach, considers assaulting Haruka, and is like, hey, help a brother out. It leads to a fight, which is pretty cool, having Saejima versus Kiryu, and this is the first time that you fight Kiryu in the Yakuza games. So I can't take away from this scene. Like I said, this game is filled with amazing moments followed by terrible moments. So of course it comes to a draw, but since Saejima is already injured, he ends up passing out. But right before he does, he mumbles Hamazaki's name. And upon hearing that, Kiryu decides to help him. Which, like, why would you not just mention Hamazaki's name in the first place? It doesn't matter. So Saejima finally gets to Kamurocho with the help of Kiryu and embarks on his journey to find his old boss. The Florist of Sai helps him out, which of course means a Coliseum fight. This leads to a nice moment where you get to see how taking all those lives affected Saejima.
誰や今俺に一人増えても問題ない言うたやつは。お前か。お前かい。お前ら殺せ殺せ言うてるけどもやな、こん中でほんまに人殺した奴がおるんかこら。ええか、教えといたるわ。人を殺すっちゅうんはな、人を殺すっちゅうんはな、ごっつ怖いもんなんじゃ。25年前のあの日から俺は毎日必ず夢を見る。18人殺した日の夢や、殴った奴の方の感触、骨が砕ける瞬間の音、悲鳴、死んでいった奴の顔、全部が事細かに夢に出る。死んだ人間の家族に申し訳ないとか、そんなんは当然思う。そやけどな、そやけどな、そんなもんちゃうね。人を殺したらな、殺した人間は恐怖から逃げられへんね。毎日毎日怖い思いせなあかんね。それがどんなに苦しいことかお前らにわかるか。くだらんこんな勝負は。俺は降りる。
Don't worry, if you know what's coming, you know how they completely fucked this moment up. So, Saejima has another emotional moment with his old boss.
親父、野菜の親父、親父、冴島です。今帰ってきました。
無駄だ。もうこの男に自立した意識はない。いくら話しかけても反応することはない。
親父、俺です。帰ってきたんです。親父。
さあ、
親父。
さあ、さあ、さあ、
親父、なんでこないなことに、なんでや。
Yeah, Saejima steals this game. He gets the best moments, aside from the moment that we pretend didn't happen. So Saejima tracks down Majima, and if you played Zero, you already know why Majima wasn't there that night to help out his Kyodai. It was all a setup, and Majima got caught and tortured. The story jumps to its last new protagonist, Tanimura. Tanimura is half Thai and half Japanese. Tanimura has been tracking down Saejima's sister ever since Saejima attacked the ramen shop back in '85. Tanimura's dad was a cop and was killed while looking into what happened. He left notes, and in them he mentions that he's going to go speak with Saejima's sister, but he never got a chance to before being killed. Tanimura manages to find Saejima's sister, Yasuko, and she reveals she's positive her brother didn't kill anyone. She also admits to killing multiple people on behalf of Katsuragi because he says he can prove her brother is innocent. That's also why she needs the 100 million yen. Tanimura decides to step in on her behalf and talks to Katsuragi. Katsuragi admits that he was behind the ramen shop attack, which doesn't make sense because we watched Saejima do it, and Tanimura asks how he could be sure he would survive the ramen shop attack, being as Saejima shot him. Tanimura asks if he used a bulletproof vest that night, but Katsuragi denies this and just basically says, "Don't worry about it." Remember this, Tanimura asks and Katsuragi denies having a bulletproof vest. That'll come into play later. So Tanimura does some detective work and basically figures out Sugiyuchi, his father's partner, is a dirty cop and was behind his father's murder. Tanimura catches Sugiyuchi and he admits he's always been a Yakuza and he wrote a report to cover up for Katsuragi during the ramen attack. Sugiyuchi's boss, Munakata, saw through his report and used it to blackmail Sugiyuchi into killing Tanimura's father. Am I pronouncing any of these names right? It doesn't matter. Tanimura really trusted Sugiyuchi and starts crying like it's a huge blow to him that someone he saw as family killed his pa. And Sugiyuchi basically calls him a pussy because Tanimura can't bring himself to kill the person that killed his father and is instead crying about it, and then immediately goes into a rant about how hard it's been for him because he had to keep lying to everyone and killing people. Wow, poor guy. Had to do all that lying and killing. Anyways, he agrees to testify against Munakata and conveniently gets shot. Of course. So, how exactly was Katsuragi behind the ramen attack? The one we saw already. The one we saw Saejima perpetrate. That Saejima's sister somehow thinks he's innocent from. That's right, this is getting its own section. Turns out the guns they gave Saejima were filled with rubber bullets. Rubber bullets. Rubber bullets. Rubber bullets. What's that? You don't understand? Rubber bullets. It should be obvious. This is probably the dumbest moment in any Yakuza game. So the guns they gave Saejima had rubber bullets in them, so he technically didn't kill anyone. Katsuragi took a bullet for his boss, but he knew already it was just rubber bullets. Once everyone is incapacitated, Katsuragi uses real bullets to finish everyone off. Sugiyuchi then enters to cover for him. Holy shit, this is a lot to unpack. I understand that realistically, Saejima is still a killer. He incapacitated people long enough for Katsuragi to kill him. He also shot people in the face at point blank range, so there's a good chance he killed people anyways. Plus, he didn't know for the last 25 years that he didn't technically kill anyone. He set out to murder them, and in his mind, he succeeded. Plus, even if he didn't pull the final trigger, he's still responsible. In that sense, having a character with that amount of morally grayness to them that's a killer still holds up. However, that is not how the game comes across at all. In the game world, they want you to think that now he's an innocent man.
殺してない。
何言うとるんや。
俺なんだよ。18人殺したのは。お前は誰一人殺すことすらできなかった。ただの間抜けだ。
どういうことや。
断ります。
どうして？
だってそれじゃお兄ちゃんは助からないから。私には葛の証言が必要なの。
安子さん、あなたは葛に脅迫されて命の危険を冒してまで殺人をする羽目になった。あの男が素直に証言するはずなんてない。それなのに今でも葛の話信用するっていうのが。あんたの兄貴の無実は俺が証明する。
And he's only guilty of assaulting people. As far as Katsuragi is concerned, and as far as Saejima's sister is concerned, Saejima's only crime is attempted murder. The game wants you to think he is no longer responsible for those people's deaths. And that's fucking dumb. Like I said, this is one of the most interesting moments and characters in any Yakuza game. Having the game basically say, JK, not his fault, just ruins that. They take one of the coolest moments and make it lame as shit. It's like they changed writing staff halfway through the story and they just tried to fuck up everything that came before them. Honestly, this ruined the story for me. And I know it did for a lot of people too. Maybe you don't think so, and maybe you think that was a great twist. First of all, no. Second of all, fine. Let's say there's nothing wrong with that twist. How about we approach it just from a common sense perspective? That is not how rubber bullets work. Rubber bullets don't make you go sleepy by. Getting shot in the shoulder by a rubber bullet isn't going to make you pass out. Even if you get shot in the head, you'd probably start seizing and be in and out of consciousness or dead instead of just peacefully sleeping. How did Saejima not notice his bullets weren't doing anything? He didn't notice there was no blood? He had some time to look around before he left. He didn't notice that? Katsuragi got shot and passed out and then woke up right after Saejima left along with a couple of other guys. How? Even if we're saying rubber bullets make you super tired, Katsuragi was the second last to get shot. How did he wake up so quick? What if his boss woke up at the same time or woke up and saw Katsuragi shooting everyone? And remember, Katsuragi wasn't wearing a vest, so how did he know he'd wake up so quick? It actually would have made way more sense if he was wearing a vest, and Saejima had real bullets. What if Saejima took out 5 people and then got taken out before he could finish the job? How did Katsuragi know Saejima could do it? Why did Saejima not check the bullets? How does Saejima have such good aim for someone that lives in a country where you can't practice your aim? What if the guys started waking up before Saejima left? Wouldn't he know something was up and try and finish them off with a knife or something? Like, how did they manage to have this many unbelievably immersion-breaking plot holes in such a short window, all in an attempt to have Saejima shoot 18 people without killing any of them? Also, just to reiterate, rubber bullets do not make you go to sleep. And how come only a couple of people woke up and not everyone? Dumb story, don't worry, it gets worse. So anyways, now we cut to Kiryu, and Hamazaki washes ashore, and of course he's just perfectly fine, which means that he was out adrift at sea for a day longer than Saejima was, because he shows up on Kiryu's beach a day later, so he appeared to be mortally wounded, and then was out adrift to sea for a couple of days, and then he just washes ashore at Kiryu's place, and he's like, yeah, I'm good.
It don't matter. None of this matters.
So Hamazaki seems to have learned from his mistakes as well, and decides to turn himself into the police. Kiryu joins him, and right when they arrive, Yasuko just so happens to be there. Wow, convenient. Just like Saejima washing ashore at Kiryu's fucking beach. Just like Hamazaki somehow surviving and also washing ashore at Kiryu's beach.
It don't matter.
Is it clear I'm over the coincidences in this game? Well, whatever. You know, I'm surprised Hamazaki survived. And it's kind of cool that he was able to survive. Oh wait, never mind. Damn, at least Hamazaki got to redeem himself, but didn't even get a chance. Kiryu joins Yasuko and Kamurocho, and I know I haven't done the best job of explaining the plot. I assume most people watching are already familiar with the story, but if you're not and this isn't making much sense to you, I'm sorry, I really tried. This game has huge plot holes and has a lot going on, and from this point on, it only gets more confusing. Typically, a Yakuza game slowly reveals pieces of a puzzle, and by the end, you see how all the pieces fit together. I'm not going to pretend that it's some masterpiece or anything, but the way this puzzle is revealed is like smashing a bunch of corner pieces together until they fit. So, Majima is getting arrested because Daigo sold him out, so now Daigo is the bad guy, I guess? I don't think it ever even reveals what Majima was being arrested for, just that Majima is being arrested and it's Daigo's fault, and then he just, by the end, spoilers, I mean I'm talking about the story anyways, he's just free. So, I guess Daigo was like, hey, police, arrest that man. And then he has a change of heart, and then he's like, just kidding. And then they let him go. So that's cool that that's how Japan's justice system works. But at this point, Saejima and Yasuko get kidnapped by Katsuragi. Date is supposed to be watching Yasuko, Kiryu's former police buddy, but she drugs him to get away. And Kiryu comes in to find that Date has been drugged. And by the time Date is waking up, he says, oh, I'm fine, Kiryu, I'm good. You can go look for Yasuko. So Kiryu goes out to look for Yasuko, so who knows how long it took Date to wake up, and then Kiryu made sure like he was alright, got him sitting up and everything, and by the time he's walking out, Yasuko is just reaching the end of the street. So just chalk that up to another thing that makes no fucking sense. But anyways, so Kiryu chases her into this sewer, and then Akiyama and Tanimura see Kiryu going after Yasuko and think that he's the bad guy, so it leads to a fight. You're playing as Kiryu fighting against Akiyama and Tanimura. As much as I dislike some of the story moments of this game, this is another badass moment. You're playing as Kiryu fighting as the 2 other protagonists that you played as in the game, and you just completely wrecked them. It's fucking awesome. But now, the Saejimas have been kidnapped by Katsuragi, and Kiryu tries to make a trade-off, but of course, Katsuragi ends up not being trustworthy. But neither is Kido. Damn, have I even mentioned Kido? I haven't mentioned Kido this entire time. This is Kido. He's a Yakuza, and Saejima gives him advice earlier in the game to go balls out with something that he's struggling on whether or not he should do, and turns out he ends up stealing all of Akiyama's money. Oh, he's also friends with Akiyama. Kind of. He did steal all his money. Anyways, Kido shoots Katsuragi, but he's wearing a vest, so he survives and kills Yasuko. In the exact same way Rikiya died. Everyone turns their back on the bad guy with the gun just long enough for the bad guy to shoot someone. It literally never gets old. Well, Yasuko at least goes out like a badass and takes Katsuragi with her.
でも、私はたくさん人を殺してしまった。だから、私にやらせて。
やめろ。
こんな形でしか 恩返しできない私を許して。
Also, a female character dying? Or going away? In a Yakuza game? I can't imagine it. Yasuka has so many strong female leads. There's Haruka, and then there's... fuck. So anyways, the Kamurocho Avengers plan to take all the money and put it on the roof of the Millennium Tower and hope that the bad guys show up. You see what I mean? You see how dumb this is? The protagonists don't even know what the fuck is going on. Let's just put money on a roof and that'll work. Fuck it, who cares? And you know what? It works. Of course it fucking works. It doesn't matter anyways. Rubber bullets, rubber plot. Who cares? Daigo bad now. Munakata bad. Arai bad. Kido bad. Arai shoots Munakata, but wouldn't you know it, more rubber bullets. And Arai shoots him in his office, so I guess no one heard the gunshot. Maybe they have rubber ears. Ooh, what a twist. Daigo is a bad guy, even though he literally took a bullet for Kiryu, but don't worry, Kiryu punches him and now he's a good guy again. Wow, I love it. And then Tanimura has the worst boss fight in any Yakuza game. He's constantly getting shot at while a bunch of dudes swarm you. Tanimura beats Munakata, which leads to everyone just leaving him lying on the ground and taunting him just long enough for him to pull out a gun and shoot Akiyama. Like I said, this never gets old in the Yakuza series. And then Tanimura handcuffs him with his hands in front of him and leaves the gun sitting right in front of him. Holy shit. They were not even trying with this story. Munakata shoots Akiyama and they arrest him and then leave the gun sitting in front of him and he gets the gun again. Luckily, he shoots himself because he doesn't want anything to do with this fucking story. I don't blame him. But he could have just as easily taken out all of them if he wanted. He probably could have just slowly picked them off one at a time and these dumb fucks would have just kept putting the gun in front of them and they never would have learned their lesson. I mean, Kiryu lost the most important person in the world to him, Rikia, from this fucking shit, and he's still like, oh, guns don't hurt people. They can just sit there with the gun in front of them and it'll be fine. But it's not all bad. These four look swagged out as fuck. Holy shit, the homies are looking fresh. This final fight, aside from Tanimura, is really cool too. I like how you can see everything going on around you, like it's all happening in real time, and it feels like a really climactic ending, aside from the actual, plot. This theme goes hard as fuck too. Each fight gets a different version of it. From a presentation standpoint, this ending is a 10 out of 10 for sure. But the question on everyone's mind, of course, is what happened to Akiyama's assistant? Oh shit, yo, who's that baddie? Damn, yo, is that Hana-chan? Yo, Hana-chan is looking just right. Mamma mia, papacita, yowza!
そうだ。本来の特選焼肉弁当あるけど食べる？そろそろ花ちゃんが帰ってくるんじゃないかと思って買っておいたんだよ。そんなに痩せちゃったらお腹も減ってるでしょ？ね？
社長、もうちょっとは綺麗になったねとか言ってくれてもいいじゃないですか。
Okay, that's actually pretty funny.
次の現場行かないと須藤さんに怒られちゃいますよ。早くしてください。
Well, I hope you enjoyed Tanimura, because that's the last time you'll ever see him. He's gone to the Yakuza banishment zone where interesting characters go to die. Don't worry, Kido and Arai will be keeping him company because they never show up again either. Arai turns himself into the police at the end of the game, but as far as I'm aware, Kido's free and he survives, but don't worry about him, he just doesn't show up again. So this is the first Yakuza since the original to only have one town. 4 takes place in Kamurocho and only Kamurocho. You do go to other places, but they're more small environments instead of towns. Kamurocho is the only place you can really explore. It's disappointing that the town from 3 doesn't return, but at least it makes 4 feel more focused. What they added to Kamurocho is underground and rooftops. Saejima has a hideout underneath the Millennium Tower, and you can go to a little strip mall via the stairs at the bottom of the map. These stairs are in every Yakuza game, so it's cool to finally be able to go down here. You can explore the sewers too. This is definitely cool, but aside from seeing these places for the first time, it was a bit of a pain in the ass. It's hard to navigate while underground or on the rooftop, and became annoying after a while. I can see why this wasn't a regular addition to the Yakuza games. Saejima is constantly getting chased down by police, which is incredibly annoying. Even after the endgame, you still have to deal with police chasing you. I get that they want you to use the roofs and underground, but it's easier to just run from the cops in the direction you were already going. Sometimes the cops are right where you need to be, and you just have to waste time running from them and then going back to where they were. Money is not a problem this time around. There's plenty of gambling cheat items that you can use to make millions, or even easier is using the Ebisu socks. These are in a free DLC pack and give you money every time you take a step. I just walked into a corner for a couple of days to make millions of yen.
I'm stealing from you. I'm stealing from you. I'm stealing from you. I'm stealing from you. I am stealing from you.
I think 3 brought a lot of charm by having an Osaka-based town to explore, and while the new locations in Kamurocho are cool at first, overall it felt a bit lacking. Kiryu's combat is almost exactly the same. I played this immediately after 100%ing 3, so I really noticed how similar it was. It's much better this time around though. The combat just feels a little tighter and more polished. Plus the enemies aren't nearly as block heavy, so encounters on the street don't take nearly as long. It seems like Kiryu's Kamaki Parry and Tiger Drop are a little more difficult to pull off, and enemies don't just react to your attacks the same, so you can't bait them into a parry as easy. Each character has a training master. Kiryu's is Komaki, and it's pretty easy to finish the training. You just bring him a book or talk to him and fight one of his pupils and you're good. Akiyama uses kicks. He's really fast and has a decent set of moves. The trade-off is he doesn't do as much damage, but when you're stringing together 47 kicks in a row, it doesn't really matter. His training master is this bald-headed fuck whose idea of training is to shoot you. This sucks, it's really annoying and you probably won't be able to complete this until you get special armor that lowers your damage taken from bullets. Oh, the funnest part of this is that if you lose, your health goes all the way down, so you have to slowly limp your way over to a restaurant or convenience store to get your health back. That's so much fun, especially on a challenge where they knew you were going to have to do it a few times to beat it. Most of his training levels give you an extra kick at the end of your combo, so getting shot at teaches you how to kick better, apparently. Tanimura is a very technical fighter. He has a parry that has an insane window which makes it really easy to counter enemies. He has cool heat moves too. Since he's a cop, he actually arrests enemies as one of his finishers. Nice touch. His trainer is Nair. In my notes I have make a Nair joke, show a bald Tanimura, that would be hilarious. Tanimura's training actually has a whole side story around it with Nair's family getting kidnapped. And yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention, but it's cool that it was there. You fight Nair for each training mission and you can parry her into a wall and get her stuck in a corner, making each fight really easy. It ends with the boss fight on Millennium Tower, which is pretty cool. Finally, there's the main man Saejima. Saejima does not have technique. He is not a fast fighter. He just does not give a fuck about anything other than crushing you.
I pick up a boulder with relative ease. Make crushing rocks seem such a breeze. He may move slow, he can't jump high, but this car, one hell of a guy.
Seriously, he just keeps attacking while he's getting hit and just slams the fuck out of everyone. His combos can be ended with a charge attack that sends enemies crashing against the ground and breaks their guard. You can then chain that together with another combo. Saejima does not give a fuck. He's a giant tank. Canonically, he's the only main character that's ever rivaled Kiryu, which means, in my opinion, he would actually be a much better fighter than Kiryu. Think about it. Kiryu spent 10 years in prison, and when he got out, Majima beat him up and basically called him a chump that got soft in prison. Saejima did 25 years in prison, came out and immediately rivaled Kiryu. Imagine if Saejima got out after 10 years and started training. He'd probably be able to fight a bear or something.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
Saejima's master is Master. His master's name is Master. Master wants to dig a tunnel through the sewers and Saejima has to break his way through. Most of these are fine, except for the last 2 that just increase attack. The second to last mission requires you to get an ash chunk of wood which can only be obtained from the batting center, which is already frustrating. Then you have to take it to the blacksmith to turn it into a pickaxe. The mission itself isn't too hard, but the final one requires you to make a bomb. So you have to get the ingredients, take them to the blacksmith, go back to Master, and now you have to protect Master while he plants the bomb from a bunch of dudes attacking for some reason, and watch out for falling rocks. And if you fail, you need to craft the bomb all over again. This is one of the hardest training missions to have to go through, and being forced to grab crafting material between each try made it needlessly frustrating. There's also revelations.
あれは
もう諦めなさい。
うるせえ。こいつがどうなってもいいのか。
答えなさい。仕掛けた爆弾の線、赤を切るの？青を切るの？
早く銃を下ろせ。こいつがどうなってもいいのか。
They're exactly the same as they were in 3. Each character has a unique animation after getting their revelation, and my favorite is Saijima's. Lastly, there's IF7. This was in 3. It's basically virtual reality fights where you can't use healing items or heat actions. Every time you beat one of these, your heat goes up. You can't compete in the Coliseum with Akiyama or Tanimura, so at least with this, you get more combat out of them. IF7 allows you to fight specific bosses with any of the characters. You can also fight any of the characters with any of the characters. So you can fight Akiyama as Saijima or Kiryu as Tanimura. Coliseum is mostly fun in this. Like I said, you can only do Coliseum as Kiryu and Saijima, which is a missed opportunity in my opinion. Saijima basically walks his way to the end of Coliseum and takes his trophy. Seriously, nobody comes close to stopping Saijima. The only drawback is 2v2 partner fighting comes back, which normally I would like, but it's tied to Fighter Maker. I'll get into Fighter Maker later, but basically you have to complete at least one fighter in Fighter Maker to do these fights, and Fighter Maker is complete trash. Kiryu can fight in the Coliseum and you have to beat every match as Kiryu as well as Saijima, but after completing 3, this was not too bad. Like I said, the combat is better in 4, so this wasn't too much of a challenge. So each character has a specific minigame, which is a nice touch. Akiyama gets Hostess Maker, which is a bad touch. It's terrible. I didn't talk about this much in my Yakuza 3 video. I actually had done that before I planned on completing 3, and making a video on it, so in all honesty, I don't really remember how annoying it was. However, I can assure you, Yakuza 4's Hostess Maker is a trash heap. The way this works is you help at the Cabaret Club, Elise. You find a girl to recruit and help her reach the #1 hostess. You do one at a time and there's 3 girls total. There's also a trophy associated with purchasing every dress. You unlock more dresses to purchase as you go. There's actually a way to lock yourself out of this achievement if you get all 3 girls up to the top rank too quickly, because then you won't have unlocked every dress and you can't keep playing the Hostess Maker mode. Luckily, I didn't have that problem. In fact, I was so lucky that I unlocked every dress on my first hostess. Hostess Maker works on 3 rounds. You start the round by walking around the club. People will ask for a girl that's cute or smart, and based on what they ask for, you dress your hostess accordingly. After each round, you check out the club again and change your hostess's outfit as you go. There's a guide that shows you the best outfits for each style, and you also level up your hostess's traits as you play. You pretty much have to max your hostess's rank and have the optimal outfits to level up to #1 hostess. Here's where the fun comes in. This game is extremely glitchy and going to rank 1 takes a shitload of trial and error. And if you're watching this, thinking, hey, I played this and I didn't have any trouble with the Hostess Maker, congratulations, you just got very lucky with RNG. To the thousands of people who suffered through this minigame, you know what I'm talking about. I was stuck on rank 12 for probably 3 hours. You just don't get how to play the game, that's the problem. Trust me, I understand. I understand in autistic detail how to play this dumbass minigame. The problem comes in between rounds. Let's say the club wants a sexy girl in round 1. You dress sexy, then between rounds they might want sexy again. However, there will be one customer somewhere that will want smart. It's always better to pick the outfit that the person in the back of the club wants, or the one that allows you to change outfits between rounds. I've never gotten to rank 1 by keeping the same outfit between rounds, but also the game is just fucking broken. You have club money, and my game glitched out and gave me the maximum amount of money. Unfortunately, Akiyama can't keep the money, so it's kinda useless, but even knowing the best methods of ranking up, and trust me, I tried fucking everything, it still was just a matter of playing the same round over and over until I finally ranked up. The second hostess took quite a bit to get to rank 1, but then the last one I got to rank 1 extremely quick without maxing out her stats. So there's a good chance if this wasn't challenging for you, it's just because you got lucky. Along with the Hostess Maker is the hostess bonding or relationship, whatever you want to call it. The dates with the hostesses. You probably know by now I hate these, and they're just as boring in 4 as they are in every other Yakuza game. The only good thing is you can use dates with the hostesses to order everything at a restaurant all in one go. In 4, you can only order food if you're hungry, or if your health's not full. But when you're on a date, you can just order everything anyways, regardless of what your health is at. You can't visit every restaurant on a date, but the ones you can make it a lot easier to order everything at every restaurant, which is required for completion. There is one cool thing about Hostess Maker. At the end, once you get your hostess to rank 1, you choose a specific outfit for that hostess, as well as give them a name, and then the other protagonists can go visit that hostess to go on dates. I named this one Tucker Carl's. She's Tucker Carl's-san. As Tanimura, you hear calls come out on your police radio. It'll tell you about a nearby crime. You have to go over to where it says and stop the criminal by chasing them down, beating them up, or both. I think you have to do 30 total, and there's a couple of scripted encounters to finish it off. After that, crimes will just continue to come out indefinitely. This was pretty fun, reminds me of the crime missions in Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 2, based on the movie Spider-Man 2. Gang activity is at an all-time high in Kamurocho. Now it's Kiryu's problem. When you get into random fights, you'll encounter a gang. Once you beat enough of a gang, they'll give you a hint on where to find their leader. You have to take out their leader and it's not marked where to go. You just have to figure it out from clues. Even then, it doesn't explicitly tell you which person is the boss, even if you're in the right place. Like, check it out, I was supposed to fight the purple demons and take out their leader, but I have no clue which of these people in the bowling alley could be the leader of this gang.
I'm the Joker, baby!
But in all seriousness, this was pretty fun, and made street encounters way more enjoyable. There is a trophy attached to this. Can you guess what it is? Maybe for taking out a few gang leaders? Nope. Maybe for taking out all the gangs? Nope. After you beat a gang, there's a random chance one of their members will show up as a street encounter, and beating them gives you a gang emblem. You can use these as currency to buy certain items. This is my biggest problem with the trophies in these games. Gang encounters is fun, and finishing it is fun too. But the trophy for this requires you to do something monotonous and lame. If you get 2 emblems, there's no reason you couldn't get 10. It's just time consuming and boring. You can also get 10 gang emblems without completing gang encounters anyways. I don't see why they reward you for doing something monotonous and not actually playing the mode the way it was supposed to be played. Not all the trophies in this game were bad, but this one was lame. Oh boy does this suck. This was the moment I knew I wasn't going to complete this game. Saejima joins a dojo and trains dudes to compete in a tournament. Your goal is to get them to beat the tournament in 50 turns or less. Each turn you choose different things for the fighter to do to train, and you can choose up to 3 different things per lesson. You can spar with the fighter, teach them heat moves, or just give them a pep talk. On paper it sounds like a pretty good idea. However, there's way too many stats, too many options, and way too many combinations that it really feels like it should be its own game. The only problem with that is even if you use a guide or know exactly what you're doing, it's just not fun. Some fighters are automatically goated, and others just suck. Kind of like real life. Some dudes are just natural fighters and some are not. That makes it extremely frustrating. My first fighter was awful. I had him maxed out by the end of it, and he was still losing most of the time. By turn 50, there was no way I was beating the tournament. When you lose the tournament after 50 rounds, it just keeps going. I'm not sure what the emphasis on 50 rounds is, when it doesn't matter anyways. There's an achievement for getting 1 fighter through Fighter Maker, and you only need to do 1 to complete the tournament, in Coliseum, so I thought to myself,
what am I willing to put up with today? Not fucking this!
I actually did train a second fighter and managed to complete his training in less than 30 rounds, proving that the problem with the first fighter wasn't my training regimen, but the fighter himself. What's worse is I read one of the fighters is a fat lazy slob, and constantly skips training and is the biggest nightmare of all the fighters. So yeah, not fucking doing that. Congratulations, Fighter Maker in Yakuza 4, you broke me. This is completely my opinion on this and not a statement about the quality of this game, but I did not like the sub-stories in this game. I've always been a gameplay over story guy, and Yakuza is the only story I can actually tolerate in a game. I think part of that is because after each chapter, I can run around and do stupid shit and come back to the story whenever I want. I feel the same way about sub-stories. My favorite sub-stories are very quick and easy. I don't mind having one or two more drawn out stories with a more involved plot, but when that's all there is, it starts to get really drawn out. 3 strike the perfect balance for me. A shitload of quick stories. Bump into some guys on the street, beat them up, you get a funny bit of dialogue, and you're on to the next one. Great, I love that. You also get more involved sub-stories with cutscenes, but there's only a few of them, which is perfect to me. With 4, there's about half as many sub-stories, but they're all long as shit. Every sub-story has you running all around town and is extremely involved. Kiryu's were probably my favorite because if you are going to have a story, at least Kiryu's had throwbacks to the other Yakuza games. There's even one with the Florist Sun that involves all the protagonists. Tanimura's were definitely my least favorite. They were the longest, and at least the other sub-stories, while long and involved, were meant to be comedic. Tanimura's were mostly pretty serious. You get people out of debt, help track people down, and it's all personal preference, so I'm not saying these are bad, but I just prefer the quicker, less involved sub-stories. Oh, and this baby peed on Kiryu.
Oh, Kiryu.
I gave him a stupid name. The final sub-story is a fight with Amon. Since there's 4 characters you play as, you fight 4 Amon brothers. The Amon brothers are the same ones you fought in 2, which is cool. It's also funny how my main complaint with the sub-stories is that they're way too long and drawn out. They have too much story pretty much. But the Amon fight in this is way less in depth than in 3. In 3, Amon was asking the IF7 guy to get Kiryu's fighting style, and it's a big reveal that the IF7 guy was actually working with Amon, and it's really drawn out. Whereas in 4, Amon is just like, hey, come fight me, bitch, you won't. And then you go fight Amon with your boys. It's pretty badass too, this standoff. I like this way better than having Majima and Kiryu fight the Amon brothers separately, like in 0. So the fight starts with Akiyama. It wasn't terribly hard, it just felt inconsistent. What I found works is to start a combo away from Amon, and once you start your 100 kicks of doom, I think that's what it's called, Amon will be close enough and it's too quick for him to dodge all of it. But sometimes he does dodge it, and just knocks the shit out of you. He's kind of passive and extremely quick, so it's incredibly difficult to parry him, and even when you do, it doesn't knock him down, and he just keeps attacking so you get hit anyways. I never found a good strategy for this fight. It's not hard, especially if you brought healing items, but I don't know how you would do this without just getting hit over and over and using trial and error. You can use heat moves. Akiyama has one that activates near a wall that's easy to pull off, but when you use the same heat move on any of the Amons, it does almost no damage the second time. This becomes a pretty big problem on the second Amon fight. Here you play as Saejima, and this fight is infuriating. Saejima's whole deal is moving slow and tanking damage, so naturally you fight an Amon that requires you to move fast and can kill you in like 4 hits. He has a giant sledgehammer that explodes when he hits. It also knocks you down for a long ass time every time he hits you. Once you take a quarter of his health, he starts healing as soon as you get his health down any further. He won't heal past 3/4 of his health though. You can't stop him from attacking. He out-tanks you and you can't knock him down, so you want to get in his face and take him out as quick as you can. But he just knocks you down with his sledgehammer and heals any damage you did to him while you're down. Saejima doesn't have a counter either, so your only recourse is running away while he's swinging his sledgehammer, then running in and getting a combo in, and quickly running away before he attacks. rinse and repeat, and he can just out-heal your combos. I waited until he got to phase 2 and quickly got 2 different heat actions off on him, which was enough to just barely push him into phase 3. You can grab him, so maybe you're supposed to use that to out-damage his heal, but if you don't get him into phase 3 after using a heat move on him, it's probably best to lose and restart. Heat moves don't do enough damage after using them once, and trying to combo him down is a waste of time. Phase 3, he still heals, but it's much slower. He gets really obnoxious and dodge everything and is way too quick for Saejima. After phase 2 though, it's not terrible, just really annoying. I don't understand what they were going for with this fight, but it goes against everything you learned fighting with Saejima. You can't take damage, you can't knock him down, you feel way too slow, and the healing is just annoying. Luckily though, after beating this phase, the rest of the fights are actually pretty good. Next up is Tanimura, and this is exactly what I was expecting from a Tanimura super boss. It uses everything you've learned from training and expands on that for a challenging but fun boss fight. Amon starts by shooting at you, but if you're quick and know how to move, you can dodge around him to get some hits in. Once you build up heat, you can use the gun reversal heat move to do some decent damage and knock him down. His second phase, he starts attacking in addition to shooting at you, but if you trained with Nair, you should know what to do. Parry him into a wall, get a couple hits in, rinse and repeat, and he'll go down no problem. This was the best of the 4 Amon fights. Kiryu's fight starts with a really simple Amon. You can pretty easily get a combo in on him, and he only has like 3 moves, one of which he throws 2 shurikens and ends with a flashbang. It's really easy to get behind him and get some hits in while he's throwing shit. It's hard to parry him in this phase because he's constantly throwing things and you can't parry that. Your best bet is to dodge behind him, and he has a hard time turning around while he's throwing stuff. After you beat him, his health bar fills back up and he rotates through the previous 3 Amon styles on the fly. For Akiyama's Amon, he's really quick and I found it too hard to parry him. He also dodges half of your attacks, so I got a hit in here and there but kind of just ran around until he changed to an easier phase. I got lucky and he spammed Saejima's Amon with his sledgehammer, which is the easiest as Kiryu. Kiryu is actually equipped to fight this form. The sledgehammer is easy to parry, so you can tiger drop it, but if you do that, it doesn't stop him from attacking, so you'll still get hit even if you get a tiger drop in. He does way too much damage to tank it, so I chose to use the Kamaki parry. It stuns him, and you can get behind him for a combo pretty much indefinitely. I cannot believe they made you fight this Amon as Saejima. It's so easy when you're Kiryu, but Saejima pretty much can't do shit to him without constantly healing. Finally, for Tanimura's form of Amon, you can fight him the same way as you did with Tanimura. Dodge behind him to get some hits in, and Kiryu also has the firearm heat move that you can use as soon as you build heat up. Overall, not too bad of a fight. Aside from Saejima's fight, it's one of my favorite Amon encounters. I'm not going to spend too much time on gambling. You get more than enough cheat items for most of these, and aside from 2 games, everything is the same. The only trophy for this is playing every type of gambling game, and the completion requirements are exactly the same as in 3. I should mention in my last video, I said roulette is annoying because after you place your bet, you have to sit and wait for the wheel to spin. Well, I'm actually a dummy. You can hit O or back once you're done betting and it'll skip the countdown. Thanks to the person that pointed that out. A welcome change to 4 is that you can use multiple cheat items in one sitting. Before you had to quit out and start again to use another cheat item, but now you can just bang them out. This is helpful because you make way more money the longer you play in one sitting. So being able to use all your cheat items at once is really helpful. You also get lots of packs from Bob. These contain special DLC items and you get a decent amount of cheat items for these. The tile minigames like Chohan and Oichokabu still have the annoying low stakes where you have to win or play X amount of times to unlock high stakes, which does nothing except drag out how long it takes to complete each minigame. Good thing I'm not doing completion this time. Also, the cheat items for these suck. For Chohan, you bet on whether a dice will be even or odd. If everyone bets on odd and you bet even, you get a better payout. You can use a lopsided cigarette as a cheat item, which makes everyone bet a certain way, but every time I did this, I still lost. Some people say to save before you use cheat items to guarantee you win, but that's really boring, especially when the payout is not that good anyways. It's the same as it was in 3, but it's still annoying. I'm pretty sure the reason for this is because of Japan's gambling laws, but it gets really annoying that you can't cash your chips out for yen. Instead, you have to spend your chips on platinum plates and then take them to a pawn shop. It'd be way less time consuming if you could just cash out. And if it's not for legal reasons, I don't see why you have to go all the way to the pawn shop to sell plates every time you want to cash out. Even if it is for legal reasons, I feel like there should have been someone next to all the gambling games that would buy your platinum plates. As it stands, having to make a trip all the way to the pawn shop every time you're done gambling is just a huge pain in the ass. You can gamble in purgatory, so I don't see why they couldn't have had some dude here that wants to buy your platinum plates. One of the new minigames is called Baccarat. You bet on the banker or the player and each draw cards. Whoever has the highest card count wins. This goes incredibly quick and you can bet 10,000 chips at a time, so it's easy to win quickly. You can save right outside the casino and just save every time you win and reload every time you lose. If the bank and the player tie, you get a huge payout, but I'm not patient enough to wait for that to happen. Lastly is pachinko. I know how people feel now when they say Mahjong is too complicated. I used a walkthrough and the in-game guide, and I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing. There's a knob on the right that controls ball speed. You can choose to stop your balls or keep them coming, and the speed is just where it goes. But then there's a button on the left I kept pressing, and I have no idea what it was supposed to do. You can move the button left or right, and again, I don't know what that does. The walkthrough I used even says I don't know how to play pachinko. If Sirix Z can't figure it out, how am I supposed to? I used 2 of my cheat items and didn't win at all. One said it gave me unlimited spins, it did not, and I also never got a jackpot. I played for almost 2 hours and only got 1 jackpot. I don't think that's how pachinko is supposed to work. There's a cheat item that automatically gives you a jackpot, and luckily that was enough to get the trophy. The trophy costs 500 balls, so once I got that, I was out. That's the only requirement for a trophy in Yakuza 4 for pachinko. But yeah, I don't get this fucking game. God help me in Yakuza 5. So like I said, a lot of this is exactly the same as in 3. Mahjong for completion you need 50,000 points, and for a trophy you need 7 pairs, which is a hand of all pairs. It didn't take too long to get this trophy. For those that are struggling, just play ranked mode and go for 7 pairs every hand. Nothing else matters, so even if you're not good at Mahjong, you should be able to get this trophy by just knowing 1 hand. Just get all pairs and don't steal any tiles unless it's the last one you need to win. Same with Shogi. The completion requirement is 5 wins, which you can get in challenge mode, so it's easy even if you don't know how to play. All you need is 1 promotion to get the trophy for Shogi, which is even easier than winning a round. Baseball is mostly the same. It's a lot easier to hit doubles. You have to hit this board, and if you hit between 2 or more tiles, you hit both of them. It's a lot easier to do this than it was in 3. You can also unlock a poster by playing on hard and turning all the tiles. It may seem minor, but after playing the same course over and over for hours on 3, something as little as unlocking a poster as you play makes it a lot less mind-numbing to play. It feels a little easier to get a hit as well, but that could just be because I spent hours on batting in 3, so now I'm just good at it. Bowling is exactly the same requirements and everything. This feels easier to get strikes as well, but again, that could be Stockholm Syndrome. Darts and pool are still broken. Darts, I was able to master the broken controls, and the only trophy for darts is getting a hat trick or 3 bullseyes, which is easy. Pool has a new mode called 4-ball, where you get points by caromming, and there's a trophy for being the first to score in 4-ball. Again, pretty easy. And yeah, no way am I doing this broken pool minigame all over again after 3. The aromatherapy massage is back. You fill this meter as high as you can without going to the top or bottom. It can get tricky. All you have to do is go 5 times for a trophy, so that's all I did. In 3, there's an arcade game made by RGG called Boxchelios. It's really awkward and I hate it. Well, now you can play Boxchelios too. It's really awkward and I hate it. So all I had to do was play 1 game of Boxchelios 1 and 2 and the crane game for a trophy. Neat. Fishing is available at the docks and it works the same, but this time there's a vendor that sells bait right next to the fishing rod, which would be incredible except you still have an inventory limit, so you still have to run back to a save to drop off your stuff once you run out of room. Golf. It's golf. You have to play fishing and golfing 5 times for a trophy. Golf. Uh-oh, new minigame alert, we got a new minigame on our hands. Table tennis. You go to the spa, and after the spa you can play a girl in a round of table tennis. You hit the ball as soon as it glows to hit it back, and then you can stare at the girl's jiggling opie to charge your heat gauge, while you wait for her to hit it back. Once you charge up heat, it's an automatic point. You have to use heat 3 times in 1 game for the trophy. This seems like a cool minigame, and it's got that Yakuza perverted charm. It does seem like sometimes the timing for hitting the ball can be too tight though. Like it feels like you hit it correctly, but it'll either go too far over the table or you'll miss. I can't complain when the trophy is that easy though. Karaoke is back, big surprise, and there's quite a bit of songs.
go, go, go.
I really like some of these songs. The only annoying thing is that not all of the protagonists have a song they can sing. Also, most of the songs are sung by hostesses, which is kind of lame.
Let's go! Let's go! So from now, このフロアにみんな来るビートで変に登れ。なんかから go to the disc time. 今夜 disc time. Oh yeah!
But you can do a duet with Akiyama and Hana.
ネオン愛が二人照らす運命さえ信じられる建前で任せじゃない恋は止まらない時に笑い時に迷い時に悩み共に紡ぐあなたとお前のカムロ町恋のストーリー
There is a trophy for singing every song, which is actually pretty annoying because it forces you to play through the hostesses to get them to join you for karaoke. I guess I should mention these are annoying as shit. There's 10 hostesses split between Kiryu, Tanimura, and Akiyama, because Saejima gets no bitches. Like I said, it's kind of cool 3 of these hostesses are ones you train as Akiyama, but once you have to sit through these boring ass conversations with the hostesses while buying them drinks and food 20 times, let's just say it loses its charm quickly. I was so happy the hostesses had no trophy attached to them, and it was part of the reason I chose not to 100% this game. So imagine my disdain when after completing 7 of the hostesses, I found out I still had to do 2 more because I need them for karaoke.
This is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Nothing about this is good. Not one thing. God, I hate this. I hate this. This is terrible.
I didn't complete the heat actions in this. In 3, there's an alley behind the drugstore in Kamurocho where there's a pair of pliers. You draw people over here for a fight and you have to do a heat action as someone's attacking while holding the pliers and while they're not attacking with the pliers. The first thing I did when I went to 4 was go to that same alley, and sure enough, the same pair of pliers was there that had the same 2 heat actions. I don't think I need to go through every single heat action again. I also skipped weapon creation. As I said in my last video, I do not like weapons or armor in these games. They feel kind of useless, especially since you're not going to be able to use them in the most challenging parts of the game anyways. The inventory issues I had in 3 aren't as bad here, but they're still way too annoying to make every single weapon and armor, just to not use even one of them. It pains me to say this, but I skipped Haruka's Trust. Normally this is my favorite part of the Yakuza games, but here it was too painful to try and sit through. It's exactly like 3. You have to take Haruka around to different restaurants and minigames. Sometimes she just wants you to buy her snack, others she wants you to get a perfect score at golfing. She won't tell you what she wants either. Typical woman. You just have to walk to every place, walk in and back out because she's too slow to keep up with you, then wait to see if she asks for something outside of that business. Now you can go inside and attempt to grant her request. If it's a challenge like get 1,000 chips at roulette, if you fail you have to walk out, wait for her to ask again and then go back in for another try. What's really annoying is you can go to every building in Kamurocho and grant every request she has, and once she levels up, you have to walk back to every business all over again because now she has new requests. In 3 it was kind of cool because there was a unique mission at the end of Haruka's request to give a guy millions of yen, so at least it was somewhat worth doing. In 4 you do the same shit you did in 3 until Haruka is maxed out, and you get another shitty scarf that doesn't do anything. I think I'll pass. I was actually considering doing Haruka's request, and I brought her with me while I used all my gambling cheat items to get some money. After I was finished using all of my cheat items, I walked out and she asked me to play some roulette. Yeah, I think I'm good. These were kind of easy this time around. I finished all of them in about 2 hours. These are a series of challenges with various conditions. First is melee challenges. All of these boil down to defeat all enemies in the time limit. Some of these are tricky. There's one where you have to take out zombies in a parking garage as Kiryu, which is a cool idea, but you have to find several guns to take them all out because nothing else hurts them. The guns are small as shit and blend into the ground, so good luck doing this without a walkthrough. There's another where you have to fight on an oil slick and have to beat the enemy without falling down. As Kiryu, you have to take out a dude that heals faster than you can damage him. They give you a weapon, and the trick here is to take a bunch of damage because the weapon you have does more damage if you're at low health. Some of these were tricky, but none were very hard. Next is the one-on-one fights. There's only 5 and they're just boss fights with a timer. These were pretty easy. After that is challenge match. These were the most frustrating. You have to take out all the enemies as Tanimura, only using parries. Which doesn't sound too bad, but there's a time limit. Once you take out 2 enemies, the third sometimes gets scared, which means he falls on the ground for several seconds, and you just have to sit and wait. I lost a couple times because of this. You have to beat 2 enemies as Saejima with only 10 attacks. I did it in 9 and lost. Turns out when it says 10 attacks, it means exactly 10. No more, no less. You have to keep Minami from grabbing a microphone. There's 2 and you have to block him from getting one, which makes him turn around to walk towards the other. The problem is that sometimes he doesn't turn around. What's worse is he doesn't have to be anywhere near the microphone to pick it up. Look at these busted hitboxes. Probably the hardest one is destroying the walls of Saejima. You have to get through 7 layers of stone before going to another room with another 7 layers. Here you have to avoid the rocks while destroying the wall. There's 3 rocks and sometimes all 3 come at once. You can dodge them and get a few hits on the wall. Other times the rocks are completely out of sync and you're lucky to get 1 hit on the wall. Once you get through here, there's another room with rocks falling, but this one is brutal. There's like 6 rocks and you have to sit there and wait for them all to fall before you can get a few hits in. You can't wait because you don't have enough time. And if you get hit by a rock, not only does it knock you down and waste time while Saejima struggles to get back up, but the rocks continue to hit you while you're on the ground, so you can easily die here without even getting a chance to get back up. Or even better, a rock will knock you down, then as you get up, another 2 rocks will hit you, causing you to get knocked down again. This one was annoying. There's sprint challenges, which are basically just chase missions. I was good at these in 3, and they're easier here, so I didn't have too much trouble. Even Ultimate Mac is easy, because you just throw a bottle at him 3 times and he's done. You don't even have to catch up to him. There is a really annoying one, where you get chased by several Kappa as Saejima. They're faster than you, and you have to get to the end of the street while they all tackle you. It's actually easy once they're all on you, because you can just keep spamming the dodge button over and over all the way to the end. But even though it's easy, it's just not fun. It's really annoying just getting hit over and over again. Finally, you have to catch Sugiyuchi as Tanimura in a boat chase. The boat controls are absolutely terrible. They feel worse in the Climax challenge than they do in the actual game, but that could just be in my head. Not to mention there's barrels everywhere that completely stop you. Your health goes down over time, so you need to shoot at Sugiyuchi and tackle him with your boat. Don't question it. You need to boat tackle him at least once to catch up to his health, because you do so little damage with your gun. What makes it even harder is Sugiyuchi's boat can turn on a dime, but you can barely control your boat. I barely was able to beat him. This was probably the hardest challenge of all. After beating all the other challenges, you unlock Ultimate Match. Ultimate Match 1 through 4 rotates between the 4 protagonists in a boss rush, except Tanimura, who only has 1 boss and mostly just fights random dudes. Also, Kiryu fights Coliseum bosses. The final Ultimate Match is the previous 4 altogether plus a final fight against Komaki. Maybe I'm just getting good at these games, but I thought this was pretty easy. I actually beat all of these on my first try. It was still fun switching between the different characters in a final boss rush. Also, there's no rankings for this. In 3, you were ranked based on how well you did, with S ranking being the best. The walkthrough I used mentioned S ranking some of these, so I think the rankings were removed from the remaster. The hardest trophy for me was beating the game on Legend, and was the reason this game took me so long to complete. This game requires 3 playthroughs, and for me it took 4. I've beaten all the Yakuza games, and now I'm just going back and completing them. It's a lot more fun to complete these games after you've already beat it once. It makes it a lot easier too. 4 is the only game I didn't beat regularly. When I got to the final boss as Tanimura, it was without a doubt the hardest boss I had faced in these games. Constantly getting shot and ganged up on was incredibly frustrating, and I was not prepared, so I didn't have healing or armor. Most of the time you don't really need it for these games, especially not on normal. So imagine my surprise when the ending of 4 turns you into a bullet sponge. The dudes ganging up on you are extremely annoying too. They're so quick, and as soon as you attack one, he'll dodge everything and all of them will just spam you into the ground. After losing for the 10th time, I had a choice to make. Revert to a previous save and buy a bunch of armor and healing for Tanimura and go through the whole thing over again, or say fuck it and switch to easy. When you lose the game, it'll ask if you want to revert to easy, and wanting to move on to 5, I decided fuck it and switched it to easy. Well, turns out there's an achievement for beating the game on normal without changing the difficulty. It has to be on normal too. You can't just play on hard and hope it'll still work. So at minimum, you need to beat the game on normal, but you also need to beat the game on legend for another trophy. Okay, so that's only 2 playthroughs. Where am I getting 4? Like I said, I needed an extra playthrough on normal because I changed the difficulty, and you can't unlock legend unless you beat the game on hard. So even if I didn't fuck up, I would have to beat the game 3 times for the platinum. And the hardest part of the legend playthrough was sitting through the game a 3rd time. There's maybe 30 minutes of actual engaging gameplay, the rest is just waste of time stuff. The game switches between 4 types of story scenes. The first is cutscenes which can be skipped, the second is cutscenes that can't be skipped. Normally these are short and played before a boss, so that's not too big of a deal. Third is cutscenes with dialogue that can be sped up but not skipped. I don't understand why you can't skip these, but there's only like 2 of them in the whole game. Finally, there's endgame scenes with dialogue text boxes. These can be sped up by holding R1 and X, but anytime there's a pause between dialogue or a character walks to the other side of the room, you can't skip that. There's so much wasted time trying to sit through a story you've already seen twice. You spend 30 seconds fighting just to be stuck in story for the next several minutes. Akiyama is probably the most painful part to get through. You have to go through his boring ass hostess missions twice, which is a terrible minigame anyways. The game will tell you to go to a certain point of the map for the story, and after almost every single story objective, the next objective will be head back to Sky Finance, which is Akiyama's business. Every single time. I get Akiyama works here, and that's home base, but he has a phone. Does he really need to go back here every single time? The majority of gameplay in Akiyama's section is heading back to Sky Finance. There's one time when you go back to Sky Finance just for Akiyama to be like, I should check on Yasuko at the club. So what was the point of going to Sky Finance? So much wasted time for no good reason. Saejima has a prison break, which is boring, finding all the parts you need to break out, but his section moves pretty quickly, right until you get toward the end. The game really wants to show you that you can navigate using sewers and rooftops. You have to go to Millennium Tower, which normally takes maybe 30 seconds, and they manage to stretch it out into 5 minutes by forcing you to use sewers and roofs to avoid the cops. You have to do that twice. Before that, the fighter trainer guy asks you for help. You're given an option, but regardless of what you choose, you have to go with them. There's several parts where someone asks you for help and the game pretends you have an option, but you have to go help them. Tanimura has the longest waste of time of all. There's a sub-story right outside of Tanimura's home base, and you cannot beat his section without triggering it. This sub-story sucks, and I've done it 4 times, and I still don't know what happens. It could be the best story in Yakuza, but when you force me to stop what I'm doing to do a sub-story, I'm gonna skip it every time. Next, as part of Tanimura's part, you have to talk with Katsuragi as they walk around Kamurocho. The point of this is Katsuragi wants to lure Tanimura away from homeland, so he wastes his time walking around talking to him. Because it's on a timer and it's not an actual cutscene, you can't skip or speed up the dialogue at all. You just have to sit there and watch them talk 3 times. It takes almost 5 minutes too. Aside from that, the rest of the story moves relatively quick. And after beating the game 4 times, Legend was a cakewalk. Like I said, the hardest part is wasting time trying to get to the actual gameplay. I normally wouldn't spend this much time complaining about stuff like this, but with 3 mandatory playthroughs for the Platinum, the amount of time wasted is ridiculous. Also, the trophy for beating normal without changing the difficulty is a hidden achievement, so I'm sure a lot of people got to the final boss, realized how broken it was, and changed to easy to avoid doing it all over again. I definitely never want to play through this story ever again after this, and this is the only Yakuza I can say that about. Aside from that, these are probably the easiest trophies in any Yakuza game. Just incredibly boring and time consuming. Overall, Yakuza 4 is a huge improvement over 3 in almost every way. Where I think it suffers is adding underground and rooftop sections over a new town, as well as the second half of the story. I really appreciate the new characters added in the game, and while most of them ended up being killed or forgotten, I'm glad we got Saejima and Akiyama. The gameplay of the story is probably the most boring of any Yakuza game, but I might just be saying that because I had to play through it 4 times. I can definitely see myself coming back to every Yakuza except for this one. After playing through the story once, it really drags, and a lot of the gameplay is just running around the same town or holding R1 and X to skip dialogue. It's also why it took me so long to get this video out. My final playthrough took less than 10 hours, probably closer to 5, but after playing through it once, I really did not want to sit through it again, let alone 2 more times. A lot of the completion criteria was exactly the same as it was in 3, so I can't really criticize it, but it also wasn't engaging, having just played 3. Aside from that, there were a lot of quality of life changes, the most notable being enemies actually attacking you, and you're able to break through a guard if the enemy is blocking. Well, at least the next 2 Yakuza games I plan on completing should be pretty easy to complete, right? Fuck.